What's good, everyone? It's your man Sam from Huge Fantasy, your dad league champion, here with our second video in our fantasy team previews. Uh, Make sure to go back and check out our preview on the Washington Commanders if you missed it. So today we're going to be talking about the team geographically closest to the first, the favorite team of many of my beloved friends. Today we are going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens. So, last year ended in disappointment for the Ravens. They're as good as any team when they were playing at their best, but a lot of heartbreaking losses, blown fourth quarter leads. They end up missing the playoffs. Jim Harbaugh's fired, and then they kind of are rebooting here with new head coach Jesse Minter and the person we're going to talk about first time play caller, offensive coordinator Declan Doyle is bringing his offense to the Ravens. So in our last video, we talked a little bit about the Ben Johnson coaching tree and Washington's coordinator David Blau. Here we also have someone who has worked in that system. Also young, 30 years old, Declan Doyle. Last year he was the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, although Ben Johnson, of course, retained play calling duties as the head coach. But what can we think about with this kind of offense? What can we expect it to look like? First of all, you expect it to have a pretty good pace of play, as the Bears had averaged the most plays per game in the NFL last year. The Lions were top three the 2 years previous with him as the offensive coordinator. You're going to see more under center work for Lamar, most likely, more play action, hopefully getting more big plays from that. Also, Doyle got his start working under Sean Payton, first in New Orleans as an offensive assistant, and then later following him to Denver. Sean Payton's offensive systems, also, historically very efficient offenses under Sean Payton, using creating a lot of mismatches on the field. You can kind of see the whole Ben Johnson coaching tree as almost. You can kind of think of the Ben Johnson coaching tree as a branch of a bigger Sean Payton one, considering Dan Campbell also was a tight ends coach previously to getting hired in Detroit, although Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell got their start together in Miami. So, anyway, one thing we haven't seen a lot of is this style of offense utilizing a rushing quarterback. Certainly not one on Lamar Jackson's level, whether you think about Sean Payton's system or a Ben Johnson system. Maybe the most successful one we could think of is Caleb Williams last year, who had Doyle as his offensive coordinator and Ben Johnson as coach. But he ran for 99 yards fewer than he ran for in his rookie year, only about 400 rushing yards, I believe. Now Caleb is more of a scrambler. He's not the rushing threat that Lamar Jackson is, but it will be interesting to see how Declan Doyle utilizes Lamar Jackson. All right. Thinking about Lamar Jackson, that's the first player we're going to talk about, where he had his worst fantasy season last year. He was drafted second as a QB2 alongside Daniels, right behind Josh Allen. But this year, Lamar's still maybe the quarterback 2 or 3 with Drake May in the mix too. But Allen is going way ahead of all the other quarterbacks. He's got on Fantasy Pros and ECR, expert consensus rankings. They take a lot of rankings from experts around the internet and compile them together. Allen's going at pick 27, Lamar more like pick 34. So you could look at it as he'd be getting a discount, as before last year, Lamar was in the top 8 in average fantasy points per game every year since his rookie year. Plus you got 2 number 1 finishes in there also. He's always right around or over 20 points per game until last year. Last year he finishes as a QB 16 in average points per game, lower than that in total because he missed a few games to injury. So you're definitely getting him cheaper than last year. A lot of people got burned and might be hesitant to take him after last year. But you can look at it as getting Lamar Jackson at a discount for sure. There's no reason, I think he's about 30 years old now, no reason to think that he's regressing or that he's physically can't do the things he did in the past. So under Declan Doyle, a new style of offense, we can expect to see Lamar back in that top 5 quarterbacks for sure. Other thing is, though, you're looking at the guy who was the quarterback outside of quarterback one territory last year, and he's going as a top 2 or 3 quarterback. So it's another thing to think about. But you think Doyle's offense is going to do the best it can to put its players in the best position to succeed on the field, and that the offenses are going to be efficient. So that should be good for Lamar Jackson in theory. I haven't drafted any Lamar Jackson in my best ball drafts yet this year. I'm not opposed to it. I like Jackson where he's going at value. I think he'll probably have a good bounce back year, but at the same time, not someone with the other quarterbacks. Not someone I'm reaching to get. So next up, we're going to talk about the running back position, where the Ravens have had a little turnover. Of course, Derrick Henry returns, and also Justice Hill and Rasheen Ali, the rookie last year. Out, though, Keaton Mitchell leaving in free agency, going to the LA Chargers as the kind of speed option, change of pace back. And also you have Adam Randall drafted day 3, also being added to the Ravens backfield. So the primary question for the Ravens backfield, of course, is, can Derrick Henry keep doing it? Will he keep on trucking? He's another year older, but last year he was still a force to be reckoned with the ball in his hands. Even if they scale back his snaps and touches, slightly, he's still going to be effective, and he's still going to pile up points when the Ravens are in good rushing situations. Or maybe this is finally the year Father Time catches Derrick Henry from behind and drags him to the ground. But I wouldn't bet on it, and neither is Vegas for what it's worth. If we look at the over-under odds, it's a good place to think about fantasy to look where Vegas is ranking these guys. And Henry has the highest over-under line, over 1,200 rushing yards. If you want to bet about even money that Derrick Henry will get over X amount of yards, you're betting on him getting over 1,250 yards or something like that, which would be another huge season, right up there with the league leaders in rushing yards. So, Bears offense, where Declan Doyle came from, was 10th in rush play percentage and finished 3rd in rushing yards. That's good. But the Ravens under Todd Monken finished 2nd in rushing yards, and they had the league's best yards per carry at 5.3 yards. So a lot of that is because of Henry and Lamar Jackson, of course, and their rushing prowess. But will the situation be better for Henry than it was last year? You also lose center Tyler Linderbaum to free agency. You add John Simpson to give you a little more depth. So I'm interested in Henry. I haven't drafted him either because he's going around that group of running backs in round 2, where I also like Omarion Hampton, Devon Achane, guys like that. So I like Henry. I haven't haven't had the opportunity to draft him yet this year. The other running backs in the backfield, you'll have Justice Hill. He'll have a role in the passing game. He always does. If Henry got injured, he's not a like-for-like replacement, though. That's where you might see some work for Adam Randall. If Henry were to get hurt, no one is on Henry's planet in terms of size, speed, athleticism. But Randall's in the same solar system anyway. He's 6'3", 230, ran a 4.5 40-yard dash. So he might be one to keep in mind for Dynasty if Henry, retires after this year, who knows, or for handcuffing him in deeper leagues. So next, we're going to talk about the wide receiver position, again, for the Baltimore Ravens. This is looking at the fantasy outlook for the skill possession players on the team. So returning, we've got, of course, Zay Flowers, Devontae Walker, and Rashad Bateman. New guys in, we have Elijah Surratt and Jalen Lane, who are draft picks, and out is DeAndre Hopkins. And Zay Flowers has been a point of contention in fantasy football circles this summer. I've noticed in this offseason, you have some experts that love his prospects for the seasons, while others are fading him. And the pro case, you're saying in this new offense, he could be a target funnel. He could get more targets than the 115 or so, 120 he's had the last couple of years. He only had, I believe, 5 touchdowns last year, so he could get more red zone utilization. And some people are saying that would lead him to outperform his draft stock where he is now. I lean more to the other side, where again, Todd Monken, he got heavy utilization, and a pretty efficient offense, so he could get better touchdown luck, but he's not a big guy. He's not utilized heavily in the red zone. So, I don't know if I can get that much, the situation can get that much better for Zay Flowers. Maybe if he gets 10 touchdowns, this will seem dumb. But I just like other receivers in that fourth round area. Terry McLaurin, Devontae Smith, Egbuka's going a little before that, going higher now. Lad McConkey, Olave, I think is going too low. So there's some guys I'm taking over Zay Flowers right now. All right. For the rookie draft picks, especially Elijah Surratt's getting some buzz. He's a big guy. He led college the FBS college football in touchdown catches last year with 15. Went in the fourth round. As wasn't the fastest or didn't test the best, didn't have the best athleticism testing numbers. So fell a little bit in the draft compared to some of his Indiana teammates, but he's a guy who could become that second target in the receiving game this year or next year. Could be more of a power slot type player for the Ravens, which would give them a little more size as opposed to what Zay Flowers brings. Lane, also an outside kind of speed guy. Might make some splash plays like Tez Walker did last year. The coaching staff is confident about Rashad Bateman, but with his history and coming back from an injury, that's not something. I'm not going to trust on him to emerge as a number 2 receiver either. Which brings us to who I think is the number 2 target and the only other pass catcher on the Ravens other than Zay Flowers that I think you need to own, and that's Mark Andrews. At tight end, you have Mark Andrews, really the only tight end of note returning. You have Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar left in free agency, and veteran Durham Smythe, and a couple of later round rookies replacing those guys. So I'm a big fan of Mark Andrews in general, especially this year. I don't understand why he's being ranked so low. I guess people think he's old and washed, but at the tight end position, I think guys can succeed even into later years because they don't rely so much on their athleticism. See Ertz, Zach. So you take out Likely, you take out Kohler, you don't replace them really with much competition. There's not a lot of receivers who are demanding targets either. So, and could find himself in an offense more favorable to the tight end position. You think of Doyle and Peyton, Ben Johnson mix of an offense. That sounds like it could be good for a tight end, right? So those targets got to go somewhere. He's going outside like the top 120 tight end. You'll see him ranked from around tight end 11 to 15, which I think is too late. It's hard really to slot him in, but I think you can get a starting tight end for your team for season long in the double-digit rounds with Mandrews here. And his value, that ranking might come up as we get closer to draft season. But right now, you think of the guys ahead of him or around him: Dallas Goedert, ex-teammate Isaiah Likely on the Giants, Jake Ferguson, Dalton Kincaid, Travis Kelce, George Kittle coming back from an Achilles and on the pup now, even though he's looked good in clips. But I would like Kelce over all those guys. And then you start looking at fanning the guys in the top 10. So I like Mark Andrews. I think he's a big value there. And he's probably my favorite Raven. Definitely the one I've drafted the most in best ball drafts so far. But like Lamar at the cost and Henry, I'm not the biggest fan of Zay Flowers. I like Elijah Surratt as a guy to watch. Could make an impact even later on this season. And I think Mark Andrews is a great value. So that's my preview for the Ravens. So what do you think? What did I miss? What do you like about the Ravens? What do you not like? Are you going to be drafting a lot of Ravens or a whole murder for your fantasy team, as it were? So let me know in the comments. Please give me a follow, subscribe, like, comment, all that. Thanks for stopping by. One love.